flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
There is no constitutional issue here. The command of the Constitution is plain. There is no moral issue. It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country.
Nancy and I are pained to the core by the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all of the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. We've never had a tragedy like this. And perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle. But they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers, but overcame them and did their jobs brilliantly. We mourn 7 heroes.
These attacks continue as I speak. Ground forces are not engaged. This conflict started August 2nd when the dictator of Iraq invaded a small and helpless neighbor. Kuwait, a member of the Arab League, a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized. 5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been won.
We are fortunate to be alive at this moment in history. Never before has our nation enjoyed at once so much prosperity and social progress with so little internal crisis and so few external threats.
This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of it soon.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
We've stood strong for this long. There's no reason why we can't continue to stand. From Adolf Hitler to Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden to the Taliban. Our men have served our country well, that we may live the American dream. Our women have done well by shining the bell, as we continue to let freedom ring. I have an American eagle, power of an Alabama crimson tide, heart of a Texas coyote, that's my patriot pride. Faster than a New York minute, American as apple pie. This land I love, my stars and stripes, that's my patriot pride. Our children's smiles are brighter now than ever before, even after 9/11. From sea to sea, shore to marvelous shore, let us march on to victory is won. Oh, say, can you see, or are you still unaware, that the rockets and bombs bursting gave proof our flag was still there? I have an American eagle, power of an Alabama crimson tide, heart of a Texas coyote, that's my patriot pride. Faster than a New York minute, American as apple pie. This land I love, my stars and stripes, that's my patriot pride. Let us lift every voice and sing, let us not lose our pride. As the eagle soars high in the sky, America too shall fly. United we stand, divided we fall, all for one and one for all. I love my land deep down inside, that's my patriot pride. I have an American eagle, power of an Alabama crimson tide, heart of a Texas coyote, that's my patriot pride. Faster than a New York minute, American as apple pie. This land I love, my stars and stripes, that's my patriot pride. This land I love, my stars and stripes, that's my patriot pride.
Good evening and welcome to a new and improved Patriot Pride OTR. I am your host, Mike Mayhem Hodges. And before we get started, I would like for all the listeners to bow their heads and have a moment of silence for the victims of Las Vegas mass shooting. Our hearts, our prayers are with them in this desperate time. So join me in a moment of silence. And thank you, everyone, for joining me in a moment of silence. And today's show, the new and improved Patriot Pride, we're going to talk a little bit about the true meaning of patriotism. And we're going to discuss a few patriots, both past and present. But before we get started, I would like to share with you guys the meaning of the title of our show, Patriot Pride. Patriot is a person who vigorously supports their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies or detractors. Now, pride, it's got a double meaning, and I'll share it with you. Pride, a feeling or deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. the achievements of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. A pride is also known as a group of lions forming a social unit. Now, we're not lions, we are humans, but we are tightly knit, and we are forming a social unit, those of us listening to Patriot Pride, OTR. So, that's a double meaning. And thank you for joining us on Patriot Pride, and thanks so much to Dangerous Grounds Network for allowing me, your host, Mike Mayhem Hodges, to host this show, Patriot Pride. Also, to better understand the word united, this is what the definition of united is. Joined together politically for a common purpose or by common feelings. The feelings that we have on Patriot Pride, OTR, is that of patriotism. So we commonly get together with this common feeling. Our deep love for the United States of America. And yes, America is not perfect. America has this deep-seated past that is evil, but America has learned to change. America has learned to progress. And a patriot that I'm going to mention today on this show is one known as Francis Scott Key. Francis Scott Key was born August 1st, 1779, and died January 11th, 1843. Francis Scott Key was an American lawyer, author, and an amateur poet from Frederick, Maryland, and later Georgetown, D.C., near Washington, D.C. Francis Scott Key wrote the lyrics for a poem entitled, at first, The Defense of Fort McHenry, which, when set to an Old English Gentleman's Society tune, eventually became the United States national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, if you know the whole poem from Francis Scott Key, you may know that there's more than one verse. Now, there are those out there that will tell you that they do not support the national anthem because it is racist, because it does talk in the fourth verse about slaves. Now, here's where these people are wrong, because the Star-Spangled Banner was recognized for official use by the United States Navy in 1889 and by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson in 1916, and was made the national anthem by a congressional resolution on March 3rd, 1931, which was signed by President Herbert Hoover. Now, when they adopted this as the national anthem, they chose the first verse. And why did they choose the first verse? They chose it because it symbolizes the American patriot. It symbolizes what Americans thought of our country at the time. And we still think of it in this way. But to better understand what happened at Fort Henry, let's dive a little bit deeper. And this is one of the reasons why, after listening to this audio, I will never ever kneel for the national anthem. I will always stand. And I'll get more into detail right after this. Enjoy.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral came and he said, "Your people are insane." He said, "What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?" Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said, "The thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees." The admiral said, "We have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that." But he said, "Now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point." Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?" The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And we're back. Patriot Pride, OTR. That story was very sombering. To know that if that flag fell, that would be the surrender of Fort Henry to the British. And to know that patriots knew what it meant. That they risked their lives for what they believed in. An idea of a free America, a free country, liberty. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That they risked their lives until death to keep that flag pole upright and that flag flying. And that's one of the reasons why it is very upsetting. And I hope to God you share this with all your friends and ask them to listen. Because it's very important to understand why we stand. And George Washington was right. The American would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. That's why Francis Scott Key today is our past patriot. And that is one of the reasons why I, as an American, will show reverence to that flag. Not only because I'm a veteran and I know my brothers and sisters came home underneath that flag, but because other men and women died for that flag. So remember this, and join me and many other patriots when we decide to stand for the national anthem, and hopefully sharing this with you and everybody else, that's the reason why people choose to stand, because they remember why Francis Scott Key wrote down these lyrics and why they decided to make it the national anthem. It is a symbol of a great America. Yes, we don't have the greatest of past. We don't have the greatest of present, and we might not have the greatest of future. But being a true patriot is not just waving the flag and having the feeling of patriotism. It is at all cost willing to live, fight, and die for that idea that our forefathers had. Liberty. And now we'll go to a music break real quick, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
It may sound old-fashioned, it may be passé, but I believe that we are blessed every single day to live within the borders of a land where we can see that everyone is equal and everyone is free. Our values and our valor still remain. So every time Old Glory is raised, I will stand for the stars, I will stand for the stripes, I will stand for the ones who laid down their lives so we can breathe in freedom, every woman, every man, for one nation under God. I will stand. Our founding fathers struggled, men and women died, defending ideologies that govern all our lives. Rights from our Creator, even life and liberty, they will not be torn asunder by man or tyranny. So as we stand and honor them today, we can lift our voices and proclaim, I will stand for the stars, I will stand for the stripes, I will stand for the ones who lay down their lives so we can breathe in freedom, every woman, every man, for one nation under God. The world will never understand what we know is true, that America is more than a land, she's a home in me and you. I will stand for the stars, I will stand for the stripes, I will stand for the ones who lay down their lives so we can breathe in freedom, every woman, every man, for one nation under God. I will stand for the stars, I will stand for the stripes, I will stand for the ones who laid down their lives so we can breathe in freedom, every woman, every man, for one nation under God. I will stand, I will
And welcome back to Patriot Pride OTR, the new and improved Patriot Pride, where we're educating everybody on the true meaning of patriotism. We're introducing patriots, past and present. And that was Allegiance Trio with I Will Stand. So if you enjoyed that, go check them out. Real good band. Now, I know this is a show that it's got a new twist to it. We're staying away from politics. We're staying away from talking about a certain entity that decides that they want to kneel. And today I'm showing you all the reason why they shouldn't take their protest somewhere else. That's what they should do, is take it somewhere else. Show reverence to all those men at Fort Henry that gave their life for that rampart to be standing, even though it was at an odd angle after the bombardment from the British Navy. And it was because of patriots that knew what it meant for that flag to hit the ground. They knew. And God bless them. And I'm going to do some research for the show in the future, and I'm going to try to figure out the names of those men that did that. And I would love to share that with you guys. And what is true patriotism? Now, I had an audio set up for you guys, and unfortunately the audio, which was narrated by me, but it was written by a Lawrence Reed. It was an essay that he wrote in an article he wrote in 2003, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I had the audio all set up, but the sound just didn't go right, and I had a few problems with the audio putting it together. So unfortunately I don't have that audio for you guys. But the gist of what he said is, after 9/11, everybody had this feeling of patriotism. Everybody flew the flag. And patriotism, in their definition, what Lawrence Reed wanted to know is love for one's country. And by country, if they mean country as in the scenery, then they have it wrong. And he was explaining more that the lesson needed to be taught. That true patriotism is the foundation of what the ideas of our forefathers had for this country. And that idea was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And just having a feeling and just waving a flag, a mere minor outward signs of patriotism. He didn't count that in his book as true patriotism. True patriotism was living and fighting and dying for these ideas, and standing beside the men and women that educated people about true patriotism. Patriotism is learning and living the ideas that our forefathers had for this country. Not just love for one's country, but everything that the country was. The ideas, the opinions, the people, everything. That is true patriotism. And I wish I was able to share that audio with you. It was beautifully written. I found it on YouTube, and you can find it on YouTube as well, where it only had words pop up, and it had beautiful music, very patriotic music. And I wanted to share it with you, but I couldn't find an audio version of it other than just the music, so I decided I was going to do a narration of it, which that failed epically, and I apologize to everybody. But the gist of it is just wonderful. Lawrence Reed, you hit it right on point. And God bless you all for listening. Remember to share this with your friends. Have them listen to it. If you're just joining in, you missed a very good piece on Francis Scott Key and what really happened at Fort Henry. And if you can, catch the playback later. Listen to it. It's great. It's great. Now I'm going to introduce you all to a very present patriot. And this patriot, I consider him one of the most recent patriots, because in October of 2015, this guy by the name of Brian Steorts created Flags of Valor. And what is Flags of Valor? Well, I'll get that in just a moment, but let's hear from the man himself. I have a little audio clip for you guys to enjoy and listen to. This veteran is spreading patriotism by making and distributing American flags made out of wood. Enjoy.
The American flag means a lot to me. My whole family served over 70 years of service. It's about duty, and it's about honor, and it's about sacrifice, and it's about patriotism and just being proud to be an American. And I'm honored that I got to create a company that gets to promote patriotism by creating American wall art while doing that with combat veterans. So my military career began in the Army. I was an infantry paratrooper, joined the 82nd Airborne, right after high school, and spent 3 years doing that, jumping out of planes, and I loved it. And my time was up, and I decided to go to college, and I went to college on the scholarship fund from the Army. And 9/11 happened, and like most Americans, I was upset. And so I had a unfinished chapter in my book that I wanted to, finally close, that I never served in combat. Everyone in my family, my brother, my sister, my grandfather, my father, all served. So I had grown up in an Air Force family, and I decided I wanted to become a pilot. So I joined the Air Force and commissioned in 2005. I went to pilot training and then joined the Air Force Special Operations. I deployed 9 times, and on my 9th deployment I had sustained an injury, and that was my last deployment. When I had gotten injured and I was going through rehabilitation, I always wore a flag on my shoulder. All of us do when we serve. And I didn't wear that flag anymore because I didn't wear my uniform during rehabilitation. And so I kind of missed that. I'd had that on my shoulder for 14 years, and now I'm not wearing it every day. So I wanted an American flag made out of wood. The one that I found was beautiful. It just wasn't made in the United States. And I thought, well, that upset me as an American. I want to be able to buy American art, something that's created in the United States, so I just started making them myself. All of our guys are veterans. All of our craftsmen are combat veterans, and they bring a lot to the table. They didn't have any prior woodworking experience, but they're all very creative, and they're driven.
So what I really get out of making these flags and, working in a team of veterans is the flag means a lot to me, and being able to put my heart and soul into making these flags with a team of people who the flag means just as much to them. I fought for the flag and for the country.
I had lost my husband in April, and I just found these guys out of the blue, and I was missing that feeling of brotherhood, of family, of camaraderie, and the flag is 100% that embodiment. And then to realize that there's a company that makes these flags by men who've suffered so much and sacrificed ridiculous amounts that most of us would break. And I was sort of walking around in a daze, feeling very numb, and I walked in here and it just went away.
So the reason I hire veterans is because I am one. I know what motivates them, what motivates me, being very patriotic. What I found was art is very therapeutic, and so I wanted to hire combat veterans for our craftsmen to create the art so they can have an environment they can thrive in.
Whether it's the military background and what the flag means to them, nobody wants to put their name on a bad product. And there again, I think that might be one of the biggest difference between that and any other job I've ever held. There's a lot of places where people are there just to pick up their paycheck. They go in, they hit their 8, they go home. But here there is a lot of pride in what we're doing.
What makes everyone I work with so special is how fast everyone is able to use their skills in the military to learn and adapt to things they might not have had any experience doing before.
All right, have a great day. Bye. I realized this would be a viable business when I started creating flags and donating them to fallen soldiers' families. And what I found was that it was very philanthropic. It was that feeling you can't buy.
This business is spreading American values of what we want our children to be, of what we want to be.
We're all patriots at the end of the day. We're all Americans, you know. We say that all the time. We're veterans, we're non-veterans. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. Getting to be an entrepreneur is a privilege, but getting to work with America's finest is an honor.
And welcome back. That was Brian Stewart's. In October of 2015, Brian Stewart's created Flags of Valor, a veteran-owned and operated business that creates wooden American flag artwork. Having all served in combat, Brian and his team, many of which were injured in combat, although Brian had a non-combat injury, are creating these flags with a different perspective on what it means to be American. Flags of Valor is spreading patriotism and American values with the work that they do. They not only sell these flags, but as you heard, they are donating them to families of fallen heroes. Travis Pinnell is the one that said, there's a lot of pride in what we're doing. Yeah, Travis Pinnell is the operations manager of Flags of Valor. The reason why Flags of Valor began was the owner, Brian, wanted to purchase an American flag made out of wood, but everyone that he found were, like the video said, were made in China. So once realizing he couldn't buy one that was made in the United States, he started making them himself. And with the help of the fellow combat veterans, the business is booming. And Brian says art is a very therapeutic, it is very therapeutic. So I wanted to hire combat veterans to create the art so they can have an environment they can thrive in. Philip Heck, Director of Special Projects, says, the flag means a lot to me. Being able to put my heart and soul into making these flags with a team of people with a flag means so much, is why he does this. If you would like more information on Flags of Valor, or to purchase one of these American-made American flags, visit flagsofvalor.com. That's it, flagsofvalor.com, and check it out for yourself. I mean, it's truly special. I mean, if you want to see what these flags look like, a better understanding of what these flags look like, there's a YouTube video. That's where I got this from, and all you have to do is look for "This Veteran is Spreading Patriotism" by making these flags. And another patriot that is doing a lot of things is Big Country. We'll have a very special show next week with Big Country to talk about his organization, Branded Warriors, Inc., You guys know it. Some of you do, but there are some people out there that don't know it. Just like some people don't know about this Flags of Valor. They don't know about these other organizations that are out there trying to help veterans. And I'm not saying that just veterans are very patriotic. No, there are civilians out there that are very patriotic. They love the military, they love the veterans, they love the country, and they're willing to do more and more. So, a little homework assignment for everybody that's listening, and if you know where to find the Patriot Pride OTR page, please search out who you think is a patriot and send it to me or Big Country, and we will work on having that patriot mentioned on future shows, because it's good to put out all this information about past and present patriots. Unfortunately, I can't say future because we don't know. I mean, this isn't Minority Report, so I don't know who's going to be a patriot in the future. But there's many patriots out there. There's many heroes. They're labeled patriots. Chris Kyle, Marcus Luttrell, Lawrence Reed, who I shared a little bit of his essay. Lawrence Reed, to me, is a patriot because he's got the ideology down. And we need to, too. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, those that fought for America, those that strive to change America. Martin Luther King, patriot. There's many patriots out there. So if there's a patriot that you discover, a present patriot that you would like to be mentioned on the show, please find out the information and send it to me. Or send it to Big Country. And we will get working on introducing that person and telling a little bit about them and sharing with everybody what they're doing and how they're sharing their patriotism. And for all the patriots out there, those in the past, those present, and there are some patriots that are going to be in the future, and I can't wait to see them. This song is for you.
And the river opens for the righteous, 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 and the river opens for the righteous someday. Brother, and he wondered what's on my mind. I said what I believe in my soul ain't what I see with my eyes, and we can't turn our back this time. I am a patriot and I love my country because my country is all I know. I wanna be with my family, people who understand me. I've got nowhere else to go. And the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous someday. And I was talking with my sister, she looked so fine. I said, baby, what's on your mind? She said, I want to run like the lion, released from the cages, released from the rages, burning in my heart tonight. Yeah. And I ain't no
country, because my country is all I know. And the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous someday. And the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous, and the river opens. I wanna run like the lion for the righteous, and the river opens. Release from the cage for the righteous, and the river opens. Release from the for the righteous, and the river opens. Said when I believe in my soul for the righteous, and the river opens. It ain't what I see with my eyes for the righteous, and the river opens for the righteous.
And welcome back to Patriot Pride, OTR. I am your host, Mike Mayhem Hodges, and that was Jackson Brown, and I am a patriot. And do you call yourself a patriot? What makes you a patriot? Are you a person that loves your country vigorously? You support your country, and are you prepared to defend it against enemies or detractors? That is the true definition of a patriot. Now, I'm not saying that to be a patriot you have to join the military. That's not the definition of a patriot. But it does help, because anybody that decides to join the military knows the potential cost of it. Potentially sacrificing your life for this country. Now, there's other ways to be patriots. You can be a 3%er, an oath keeper. Those are great ways to be a patriot, but also a patriot that makes a difference in America. That is true patriotism. Somebody loving their country so much and loving the people in that country. And patriotism is not just subjected to white America. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't matter your political views. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation. A patriot is a patriot, somebody that loves their country. Now, there's a lot of people out there that want to make a difference in their country. There's a lot of people that are donating blood as we speak right now to help those victims that were injured in the Las Vegas shooting. That's a very wonderful patriotic act, is to care for somebody other than yourself. And I know Big Country talks about this all the time in his final thoughts is, if you don't like what you are, you have the ability to change. You have the ability to change your heart. Now, there's a lot of evil in this world, and we're never going to be able to defeat the evil, but we can stand up and defend our country against this evil. But even standing up, defending this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, it's always going to happen. It's going to be a ripple effect. It's going to go into the future. And I hate the fact that there's so much hate in the world. I know it's kind of an oxymoron for me to say I hate hate, but I believe that a lot of Americans hate. They hate racism. They just want a country that is united, like I said earlier, with the definition of united. Joined together politically for a common purpose or by common feelings. Just having a common feeling. That's unity. Now, there's all different types of definitions of patriotism. People are going to interpret their own definition. But the true definition is love of one's country. Not just the scenery, but the country itself. Everything from the good to the bad. Doesn't mean you love the bad, it's just everything about the country. I don't like everything that's bad in this country. But regardless of how bad it gets, I'm willing to stand up, fight, defend. And you know, there's an ad that I saw not long ago that really brought kind of a tear to my eye, and it was a recruitment ad by the U.S. Navy, and it showed a woman and her child, and then you see all these members of the Navy just surrounding them, and it said, after it panned out, and you saw all these Navy members, to get to you, they have to go through us first. That doesn't imply to just the Navy. That implies to all military and all patriots. To get to you, regardless of your opinions, your feelings, whatever, your skin color, to get to you, there are people out there that are willing to die, willing to stand in the way of adversity. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's about time America wakes up. Some of America is just asleep and just blinded to this. They don't see it. They're living in a selfish little bubble. And until they realize that there are people out there willing to risk their life for them, willing to risk their life for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then we can never unite. We can never unite. I mean, there's a pocket, there's a pride. You know, like I said earlier, there's a lion pride is a social unity. There's a pride that stands together and share thoughts, and they communicate. But one of these days, those that are on the other side, that are blinded by whatever it is, whether it's selfishness or greed or whatever, one of these days they will wake up and they will see. And they will choose to stand by us, the patriots. And when that day comes, regardless of their past transgressions against us, we're going to welcome them with open arms and call them brother and call them sister. Patriots are mothers and fathers and children. I love seeing patriotic children. I mean, it's just the most wonderful sight, because children are our future. They are our future patriots. That's what they are. Let's teach them the right way of loving America. Not hating each other, not spewing evil and hate and greed and selfishness, but unity, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, loyalty, honor, respect, everything that makes America great. And regardless of your political views, every American can teach their children patriotism. Just like the song said. It said, I do not identify with anything, just patriotism. The love of my country. That will be a beautiful day. Now we're going to take, I know this is very sombering and very educational, and it might bore you guys a little bit. It might make you have goosebumps, but let's liven it up a little bit, okay? I'm gonna dive into a little bit of comedy for you, and this comedy is about patriotism. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's liven it up. I don't want everybody to be zombies and listening in and be like, oh my gosh, he's dragging on, please do something. You know, I'm here to educate, entertain, and have a good time. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Here we go.
I think patriotism is important. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Evidently, Al-Qaeda here tonight. Welcome. I think patriotism is so important, and that doesn't mean taking the American flag bumper sticker, right, and putting it on the back of your Japanese car. I don't think that's patriotic, right? Like me, I own an American car, which I think is way more patriotic, because that means that I'm willing to drive a crappy car for my country. Yeah, you hear that rattle? That's the rattle of freedom right there, yeah. That's the knocking and pinging of liberty. Hey, bro, your window doesn't roll down. Well, God bless America. We live in the greatest country on earth. Everybody is killing themselves to get in here. Illegal immigrants come in here. They risk their lives to get in here. They risk to feed their families, to take a little part of the American dream that we take for granted on a daily basis. They come over here and take these very hard, unskilled jobs, back-breaking labor. I could never do that. I never understand it either. Why? When there's so many easy, unskilled jobs in our country. Right? Like TV weatherman, they could totally do that. They could. They could. You turn on the news, there's a dude pointing at a map just like, "Pulte. Burr, burr. Mañana, kinda hot. Back to you, Dave." Thanks, Hector. We're going to take it down to Jose. He's got the traffic report. All right, Dave, I'm here by the side of the freeway and traffic is fucked up. It is bomber to bomber to bomber to bomber to bomber to bomber. As far as the eye can see. It is a good time to stop and buy oranges, which I am selling by the side of the road.
You know what I noticed, that like a lot of conflicts, like even this Iraq war, which I was against, and I don't want nobody to think I don't support the troops, because I do, because they are doing the job that they don't get to decide they go where the fuck you tell them to go. But war just conceptually is fucked up for me, because old men start wars and young men die in them. That's the fucking deal. And I think if you old and you can vote for a war, you should have to go. That's the fucking deal. Motherfucker, your old ass done lived long enough, go out there and catch a bullet. Shit. People are always patriotic when another motherfucker's going to die for them. That's the deal. People tell me how brave. They're brave for voting for this. None of their sons or daughters over there. Ain't nobody named Bush or Cheney or Powell, Clinton. Nobody like that over there. It's Lopez's and Washington's and Smiths over there fucking dying. I don't get it, man. I bet you wars would not start if the motherfucker that started them had to go. It'd be some negotiating then, wouldn't it? Hey, George, Saddam said he gonna meet you on the battlefield at 3 o'clock. Ooh, I can't go. Hey, Dick, you the vice president, you go. Man, I gotta take an EKG tomorrow. You must... You must be out your fucking mind. I don't know how I passed the physical to get this goddamn job. Fuck you. I was against the war in Iraq, but I was also against paying $2.50 a gallon for gas, so I guess somebody had to get blew up. That's all the fuck I'm saying. If you got to blow them up so I can fill it up, I guess I got my principles, but $2.50 a gallon, goddamn, kill them. We got mad because people didn't agree with us. That's the fucking deal. And the whole thing about patriotism is sometimes you don't agree. You know, I think Mark Twain said that you give loyalty to your country always, but to your government when it deserves it. Nobody has a right to send other people off to war without telling us why. We believe something's wrong. Well, motherfucker, I believe in the tooth fairy. What the fuck our beliefs got to do with this shit? Saddam was a bad man. Yes, he was a fucked up man. We liberated his people and his oil, too. That's the fuck we did. Fuck Halliburton Oil gonna get no bid contracts. That's what the fuck happened. Dick Cheney's ex-company got all the fucking oil contracts to rebuild Iraq. Bechtel and all of those got all the fucking money. And people over there dying for that shit? It's about oil. I don't give a fuck what you say to me. Brothers over there fighting for oil, gas. Brothers over there fighting for gas don't even have a fucking car. I saw two brothers catching a bus to the war. Ain't that a bitch? It's ironic to me because you hear some senator going, we had to attack Iraq because we are the moral authority in the world. And right after that, a commercial will come on for Girls Gone Wild. And then Janet Jackson pull her titty out. And then...
All right, and that's Patriotism by Lee Levine. I think that's how you say his name, and D.L. Hughley. That was pretty funny. And welcome back to Patriot Pride. Now, what does it take to be a patriot? Okay, if you call yourself a patriot cannot passively sit by as the Constitution is attacked, undermined, infringed upon, or directly violated and still claim to be supporting it. It is not enough to be mad about it. But this begs the question, though. How will one know if this is happening? There is a two-part answer to this, okay? And I know I did say I won't get into politics, but a patriot must pay attention to politics in order to know something is afoot. Okay? I'm not going to dive into politics. A patriot must know and understand the Constitution to determine if it is in jeopardy. And once a patriot becomes aware of such an attack on his Constitution by his oath of allegiance, he is committed to a course of defending it until such time as the threat or violation is neutralized. Now, remember this, okay? Once you become aware of such an attack, which the Constitution has been attacked several times, First and Second Amendment mainly, that's the biggest, by his or hers, okay, his or her oath of allegiance, they are committed to a course of defending it until such time as the threat or violation is neutralized. This is a significant undertaking, but we were warned by Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine said, those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must, like men or women, undergo the fatigue of supporting it. So, a warning to anybody that just calls themselves a patriot, okay? A warning. Be careful when calling yourself a patriot, for you will have to commit to a course that will last your entire lifetime. Remember that. This is very interesting, what I found on this website. Truth be told, all who pledge allegiance to our republic. Remember, we have a republic. Not a democracy, we have a republic. To our republic are duty bound to support and defend it. But by proclaiming to the world you are a patriot, you receive a double dose of scrutiny. But while this is a heavy burden to bear, you don't have to do it alone. There's a lot of others that are patriots. Working together with other patriots in an organized common direction and aligned to the same strategy makes for more effective use of our time in supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's why I say several times over and over again that just because my uniform has come off, I served in the Army 8 years. Many that listen to the show and listen to the Dangerous Grounds Network, many of them are prior service. Many of them are veterans. Just because we took off the uniform does not mean that our oath is done. Our oath, like this article says, lasts us a lifetime until the day we die. That is the only time that we have fulfilled our oath. That is why it is important for everyone that calls themselves a patriot to study, read up on, and learn the Constitution. Because we need to know when something's afoot politically, and we need to know what we are defending and how we should defend it. Now, there's a lot of people out there that will say, well, this is, you read it, you know the words, but you're misinterpreting it. Like, there's a lot of people out there that talk about the Second Amendment that, well, they were just referring to muskets. I'll dive into the Second Amendment in a more future episode. But you have to think, do you have to believe that our forefathers were not idiots? Okay? They were very bright and brilliant men, that to the point where they put their honor, their wealth, and everything on the line to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they knew that eventually we would advance in technology and not be firing muskets, because they themselves knew history. So they knew about bows and arrows and swords and everything, and they know that things started to develop more. So they knew it was going to happen. They knew it. Did they imagine like an AK-47? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. An AR-15? I don't know. But they knew that eventually somebody will come up with the design for a more rapid-fire rifle. Okay. Now, I'm not going to dive into this because we have to be very sensitive of those listening in. Some of them have had friends in the Las Vegas shooting, so I'm not going to dive into it right now, out of respect for those that have been injured and those that have been killed. Out of respect, I'm not going to dive into a whole Second Amendment debate because some of them right now are feeling very emotional, and I don't want to trigger them. I don't want to agitate them. Okay? I want to show the utmost respect that I can. So God bless those families that are suffering, and I hope you guys enjoy this next song. It's a very familiar song. Enjoy.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood. And that awesome song, it brings tears to my eyes a lot of times. And I don't know what it is, but every 4th of July, that song, you can hear it blasting from everybody's car, backyard, whatever. You know, wherever there's stereo. And that's fine and dandy. 4th of July is not the only time to be patriotic. You know, but it always seems to be just the time that people want to be patriotic. We need to be patriotic. We need to be patriots all the time. And we discussed about the Constitution, and being a patriot means to know the Constitution, and when something's afoot, And like I said, I'm not going to go into the Second Amendment, but I will cover the First Amendment. Okay? Education lesson number 1. First Amendment 101. All right. Now, just to let everybody know, if you weren't aware, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights. These are rights that are given to the American people, okay? The Constitution of the United States, 1789, all right? First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully, remember that, to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay. Now, what does that First Amendment mean? It means that the government, Congress, can make no law that suppresses the freedom of speech, of the press, of religion, and the exercising of this right. Now, the right of the people peacefully to assemble. Now, Congress can indeed make a law making it illegal to riot, because that is not a peaceful assembly. A peaceful assembly is, everybody's heard it, it's linking arms, singing Kumbaya. You're not shouting, not yelling, not throwing fists, not throwing rocks, not throwing Molotov cocktails, not being basically a jackass, okay? That's a riot. Peaceful assembly is just standing there with the U.S. flag and singing God Bless the USA, because, somebody stomped on the flag, and you get 1,000 people together and they're, we're going to peacefully assemble, and all they do is they stand there and they sing patriotic songs and, like, God Bless the USA and the national anthem, whatever it is. That's peaceful. Congress cannot make any law saying it's illegal for anybody to do that. Now, with that in mind, this is a question for y'all, and I hope to get an answer. Has anybody noticed where it seems that there's a little stipulation, there's a little infringement on that? Now, not necessarily that Congress has made it, but there are some places that have made it where you can't, they come up to you and they say, hey, you can't assemble here. This is private property. We'll get into private property eventually. I mean, the difference between private property and public. I mean, I see these videos all the time. A sidewalk where outside a park, there's these security guards that come up to people that are peaceful. I've seen it on InfoWars where they're just interviewing people. Now, did they make a law, or is that a policy? You be the deciding factor. To me, in my personal opinion, policies and all that that infringe somebody from doing that, whether it's a park policy or whatever, that's infringing somebody. That's unacceptable to me. I don't know about my fellow other patriots. Congress didn't pass a law, but this place said, oh, you can't film here, you can't speak, you know, you can't speak here, you have to go, you know, and it's a press, you know, InfoWars is press, they're independent press, you know, Fox News is press, CNN is press. These people with press credentials should have the right to interview who they want, when they want, and how they want. But that's something that we need to really pay attention to. Our First Amendment rights. Now, people have infringed our First Amendment rights. You see it all the time. But that's different. I mean, First Amendment applies to Congress and the government making laws, making it illegal for us to have the freedom of speech, to peacefully assemble. They cannot make any laws. So, pay attention. Make sure there's no policies going through Congress. It may be a different story if it's a private-owned, you know, university or park, which, from my understanding, parks are not privately owned. It's public. But what do I know? You know, I mean, it's a public park. Come on, you know. Privately owned is more like a gated community, and they've got gates up, and you got to check in with the security guard to go to this park. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about like a national park. I'm talking about like a city park. I have seen some people say that this park is privately owned, but it's open to the public. How much sense does that make? You know, but anyways, we're getting down to the final few minutes. I've kind of ran out of my material that I had for you guys, and it kind of sucks that I'm using this app, this Spreaker app, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm going to do my final thoughts, and then I have final thoughts from somebody else. My final thoughts for every patriot out there. Remember that if you consider yourself a patriot, you are taking an oath to defend the Constitution. You have to be politically involved to understand when something is afoot. You have to understand. That means read and learn the amendments of the Constitution. Now, if there's anything you don't understand, write the word down, look up the definition. Now, a lot of people are going to say it's open to interpretation, but a definition of a word would help you better understand it. So if you're unsure of what they're saying in the First Amendment or the Second Amendment or Third or the first 10 amendments, which are rights, then look it up. Educate yourself. I'm happy to educate you, but look it up yourself. Better understand it for yourself, because anybody listening could say, hey, that's his interpretation. But my final thoughts: be kind to each other, love one another, respect one another. Let's strive for unity. Let's show the pride. Let's be patriots. And let's make America the greatest place. Will we have troubling times? Yes, we will. We will always have a bad history. We don't know what the future holds for us. Our present time is cringing back and forth. But let's do good unto others and treat others as you wish to be treated. And that's how we become a great nation and unified. And I hope you guys tune in tomorrow night to Patriot Heart Radio with Doc Collins. Great guy, very knowledgeable. And remember, without a patriot heart, there is no patriot pride. So tune in tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Listen to Doc Collins. Listen to what he has to say. And enjoy yourself. Tune in tomorrow morning for the 3%er show. And thank you so much for listening to my show, Patriot Pride OTR. Thank you so much for listening to the Dangerous Grounds Network. We have become the #1 network on the internet. And it's because of you. So feel free to send in your suggestions on material, music, whatever it may be. This is for you. And I hope you guys enjoyed the new attitude of Patriot Pride. And with that, I introduce you the final thoughts from one John Cena, WWE superstar. And it's entitled, Love Has No Labels.
Patriotism. There's a word thrown around a lot. It inspires passionate debate and is worn like a badge of honor, and with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. For a word designed to unite, it can also be pretty divisive. You see, there's more to patriotism than flag sequin onesies and rodeos and quadruple cheeseburgers. Patriotism is love for a country, not just pride in it. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's more than just a huge rock full of animals like cougars and eagles, right? It's the people. Do me a favor. Close your eyes for a second. I want to try something out. Picture the average U.S. citizen. Think about it. How old are they? What's their hair like? How much can they bench? You got one? Okay. So chances are, the person you're picturing right now looks a little different to the real average American. There are 319 million U.S. citizens. 51% are female. So first off, the average American is a woman. Cool, huh? Is that what you pictured? 54 million are Latino, 40 million senior citizens, 27 million are disabled, 18 million are Asian. That's more people in the U.S. than play football and baseball combined. 9 million are lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, more than the entire amount of people that live in the state of Virginia. Around 10 million are redhead, 5.1 million play ultimate frisbee, and 3.5 million are Muslim. Triple the number of people currently serving in the United States military. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. We know that labels don't devalue us, they help define us, keeping us dialed into our cultures and our beliefs and who we are as Americans. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? I mean, it's stitched into the stars and stripes of this country. From the Constitution to Gettysburg, to our motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. It's even in our country's name, the United States. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? So let's try this one more time. Close your eyes. Picture the average Joe or Joan or Juan or Jean-Luc. The real people will make America, America. And this year, whenever you feel the urge to don those star-spangled shorts, set off fireworks the size of my biceps to show love for our country. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
And that does it for Patriot Pride OTR. Tune in next week. You never know what you're going to hear. And with that, we sign off with one of the most patriotic bands in America, Madison Rising and the Star Spangled Banner. Good night.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight